Welcome to Count Me In. I'm your host, Adam Larson, and in this episode, I had the pleasure of speaking with LinkedIn expert Donna Serdula. Donna is the founder and president of Vision Board Media, a professional branding company. Our conversation delves into the intricacies of personal branding and networking on LinkedIn, with a special focus on how financial and accounting professionals can make the most of the platform. Donna shares invaluable insights into standing out in a crowded marketplace and emphasizes the significance of building a strong network and crafting an impressive online profile. We also explore the future of LinkedIn and the impact of AI, shedding light on the importance of maintaining a human touch in a digital age. Join me as Donna and I uncover the secrets to leveraging LinkedIn effectively for professional success. Donna, I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today. We're going to be focusing in on LinkedIn and how financial and accounting professionals can really utilize it as to the best of their abilities. And so maybe we can start there, using LinkedIn as a professional, especially in the accounting and finance industry. How can you brand yourself to stand out among all the others that are out there? Because everybody's using it right now.
Yeah. People are using LinkedIn, and it's really become such a popular place to be, considering for years it was sort of like the ugly stepchild of the social media platforms. But it's something that a lot of people are looking at and using, and they're finding a lot of value. And so your question was like, how do you brand yourself? How do you stand out in this crowded marketplace?
Yeah.
So, I think with LinkedIn, the one thing you want to do is maybe make it a smaller marketplace.
Okay.
And the way you do that is you make sure that your network is reflected in your online network. So it's one of those places with LinkedIn. You want to make sure that all of the people that you know and you trust and you like and you've met and you worked with and you talked to, that you've created that network on the platform, right? And so then when you are posting, that's the network that gets to see you. So it's not like you're on X or you're on Instagram and you really have the entire world at your feet. You can really say, look, I want to first really make sure that the people, when I'm talking, the people that are getting this are the people that already know me. So to stand out isn't that huge of a deal because they see me, they hear me, they know me, and that's a good thing. So the first thing is make sure you're building that network. That's going to definitely help you. But once you have a network that's strong and one that is continually growing, that's important. The next thing is you want to look at your profile and you want to say, all right, how is this showcasing me? Is this something that's impressive? Is this forwarding my goals? Is this putting me where I want to be? Or is this something that maybe echoes back 5 years ago, the last time I updated my profile? So that's something that you really need to think in terms of, is that LinkedIn profile piece. That's a very foundational aspect. And how are you showcasing yourself? What story are you telling there?
That's interesting because, when you think of other social media platforms, it's all about the virality of getting things out there, getting things that millions of people look at, and you'll get more followers that way. But what I'm hearing you saying, it's more about intention when it comes to LinkedIn.
It is. And it's looking and saying, hey, here's my network. These are the people that I know, that I've met, and I want to keep showing up on their radar. I don't want them to forget me. And when they have a good experience, I want them to talk about me and tell their friends. And something happens, something very magical happens. It's like that old, commercial. I told 2 people and she told 2 people and they told 2 people. It has that similar quality. You can still go crazy viral on LinkedIn. It's not like it doesn't happen, but I think you're better off saying, let me really define my audience. Let me define my topics. Let me, add value, really define myself, but also, forward my message. And if you do it in that way, without thinking about the stars and the moon, but you sort of keep what's like right in front of you, that's when really good things happen.
So can we dig into that a little bit more? What do you mean by define yourself? Like, how do you define yourself on an online platform like that?
Yeah. So there's 2 ways of looking at it, right? There's your profile. It's like that LinkedIn profile that people go to learn who they just met or who they're going to talk to or who they're going to be working with or who they're considering working with. People go to that profile. They want to know more about you. And it's not always just about your company. Sometimes it's just about you. Like, who is this person that I'm thinking about working with? And this is where you have a chance to tell your story. And it's so different than the other platforms out there. Like you look at Facebook, you look at Instagram, you look at TikTok, the bio is like, just a couple hundred characters. There's not a lot of room there to tell a story or even to show your trajectory, to show your background, to show where you came from. LinkedIn is different. I mean, it really is a place to say, this is who I am. This is where I've come from. But even more so, this is where I'm going. And so that right there is really an important place. And so many people think, oh, I'll do it in 5 minutes. So let me copy and paste a resume or a bio, or let me grab the about section from my company website and slam it in there and it's good enough. Good enough isn't going to cut it here. This is where you really want to look at it and think of it as, how you want to be perceived by other people. You want to help people understand who you are and how to think about you. And so this is where we want to get really deliberate and think, like, what is my introduction? How do I want to introduce myself? How do I want people to think about me? What is that manifesto? And let's put it out there in a manner that really engages and intrigues people and gets them excited.
Yeah. So what do you think about when people say, hey, throw all your stuff in LinkedIn onto ChatGPT and have it spit out something better for you? What do you think about the use of generative AI as a tool to help? Because not everybody can write that manifesto easily. It's difficult.
It is. And with AI, there is it does, and offer a level of democratization of it, right? It allows anyone to put something up there, but you really do want to get smart. You really want to get strategic. And you want to think, it's not about, let's just throw the entire kitchen sink at this profile, but let's really think about our target audience. What do they need to know about, what do they need to know about you? Really think about what is it that makes you you, right? What differentiates? What's your goal? What's your, what's your why? Those are all things to really consider and put out there in a smart way. And so, in some ways, I'd rather a person use AI than have something that's empty or have something that's, dotty in terms of content. But, I really think that, whether you use a person who can help you or you use, one of these AI things, just be really, really smart and really think like, is this how I want to be perceived? Is this representative of who I am and who I want to be? And a lot of times for most people, they really don't know what looks good, right? It's like, I don't even know if this is like, I sit so close, even with an AI generator. Is this dotting the I's and crossing the T's? Sometimes that's difficult to judge.
It's almost like you need to sit down with a therapist and discover who your why is and do some deep self-searching before you can put it out there and say, hey, this is who I am, right?
Yeah. And that's what our branding specialists do. It's really helping, and it's almost forcing a person, challenging them to say, like, why are you doing this? Why not something else? Why here? Why now? Why this audience? What differentiates you? Like, really, what differentiates you? And I'm not talking about the first thing that you think about, but like really considering what do these clients say when they come back? What really separates you? And those are things that you just can't do in 5 minutes.
Yeah. It takes time to build those things, and it's not an easy thing. And I think so you've defined yourself, you've figured all that out for the most part. Now let's talk about building that network. What are ways to start building network? Because it's not something that happens like that. It's not a viral moment. Networking is not viral. Networking takes time, slowly building over time. So how do you start doing that?
So there's 2 aspects here, right? It's building the network, and LinkedIn has placed several limits now on free accounts where you don't have the ability to send out hundreds and hundreds of invites and, create these personalized notes anymore. They're locking it down. So it's one of those things where you really do need to every day think in terms of, who do I know? Who have I met? And make those connections right then and there on the spot. So you don't even need that personalized invite because the person knows you. They see you. It's like, of course I'm going to hit accept. They don't need to write a personalized note. We were just chatting yesterday. So, you have to really, be on point here. When you meet people, connect with them. And in fact, you can connect with people using the QR code. So if you're in person with someone, flash them the QR code from your LinkedIn app, let them, scan it, connect right then and there. It's not like you even have to wait to get back to your office to do it, right? You just do it right then and there on the spot. But it is something that you want to keep connecting. Always connect, always connect. I know it's like a pain in the butt, but in some ways, when you think of how, sales has always been taught, there's this element of, and there's always a different number. It's like the 6 points or 12 points of connection, but it's really these touch points. And so if you've met someone, maybe they would be a great client. Maybe they do want to hire you, maybe, whatever it might be. But, it's those little touch points that reinforce this is a real person. This is someone that I like. This is someone that I now know. This is someone I can work with. And so these little touch points make it, they're important. And so make sure you're connecting. But once you connect, then is it responding to their connection request? Is responding to them, accepting it? And then that's when we start to get into the networking piece, right? We have the network. How do you network? We have the network. How do you network? But the idea there is, make sure you post, make sure you run through that LinkedIn feed and see what people are talking about and get into the comments and add something, add value, add advice, add a story, add feedback, add insight. But it's doing that and doing it consistently that you keep showing up on people's radar. And that's when people say, oh, I know who this person is and I know what their expertise is as well.
Now, I can feel like that can be overwhelming with the way the market is going. Organizations are making layoffs and there's more that we have to do every day. And now somebody's like, wait, I have to add in reading LinkedIn and adding thoughtful posts to that. What is this? What would you say to somebody saying that to you?
I know that it sounds, like crazy, insane and overwhelming, but you have to say, wait, stop. You're on Facebook, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're on something else that's fun. LinkedIn can be fun too, and it can help your career, right? So maybe there's a trade-off, or maybe it's just saying, yeah, you know what, 15 minutes, I have 15 minutes. I can do that while I'm drinking my coffee in the morning. It's not an overwhelming sense. And here's the thing, with LinkedIn, it's not like those other platforms where in some ways to really shine, you have to post over and over and over again, especially in one day. And that's hard. With LinkedIn, can you post twice a week? Can you post once a week? That works. That's fine. Two times a week, one time a week, once every 2 weeks, I'll take it. But, when you're not posting, scroll through, see what's going on in your network and make a comment or two.
Yeah.
But if you do that consistently, that's only then will really good things happen. Yet with LinkedIn, there is a bit of a passive aspect where if you have a strong profile, you've got the right keywords in there, people see, this person's a great fit. Your phone could ring. And that does happen. So in some ways, it's a fabulous passive network. By just putting a little bit of effort in, that's when you really ratchet up and you can see a lot more success.
I like that you disarmed my argument very quickly and saying, hey, it doesn't have to be overwhelming because you'd look at it this way. It's all about how you frame the perspective, because anything that we're doing can be overwhelming, but it's how you frame it. And so when it comes to networking, it's not this like, I'm giving my card out to everybody, because for people who aren't traveling, who aren't meeting people in person, and you're only doing virtual meetings, it's harder to network. But things like, hey, I'm on a webinar with a speaker and I see that speaker on LinkedIn, I'm going to connect with them and say, hey, I loved your webinar. And that's a connection point.
Yeah. And then let's take it another step further. Maybe you put in a post and you've taken a picture of one of their slides.
Yeah.
And you tag the person and you say, this was a fabulous webinar. I learned so much. Well, one, that presenter is going to love it. The organizers are going to love it. And then maybe if you jump into the comments and you tag in a couple of the other attendees that you noticed and were there, suddenly you're having a little party on LinkedIn.
I like that. Even if you're listening to this podcast, go to our show notes and click the link to our LinkedIn pages and connect with us and say, hey, I liked when you said, and start a conversation. But it's like like you said, little things like that kind of slowly build it.
Yeah. And there's a power to tagging people and pulling them into these conversations on LinkedIn, because sometimes, that's the thing with LinkedIn. I think there's a lot of people who are very much, they're lurkers, they're voyeurs, they're there, they're paying attention, they're taking it all in, but they're not really engaging. They're not really loud on LinkedIn. And so by getting in there and saying, hey, like, here's how I would love you to, react to this post. Let me put in a question at the end of the post rather than just put out the post, whether it's a quote or an idea or, whatever it might be. Like, give them a reason to respond in the comments, and then even go so far as to maybe get into those comments and pull people in and say, hey, I just would love to hear what you have to say. And it's you acting almost as a host on the platform.
I like that. I like that you're acting as a host and it's thoughtfully bringing people in. But then it goes back to having people to bring into that conversation. So it's building that network so that you can bring those people in.
Yeah.
Because you're like, oh, I was listening to so-and-so the other day. They were talking about that. Let me bring them in. But you have to be thoughtful about that as well.
Yeah, and you know what? I've talked to a lot of people. How are you best using LinkedIn? How does it work for you? And a lot of people, they don't really talk about this, but they have spreadsheets. They have a LinkedIn spreadsheet.
Wow.
And on that LinkedIn spreadsheet, here's the people that they're paying attention to. And let's categorize these people. These are prospects. These are clients. These are experts. These are vendors. These are potential partners, right? Like, because there's so much going on in this world. It's so easy to forget people.
Yeah. It's very easy to forget people. And I was thinking, like, we've been talking about individual LinkedIn pages, but you think about from like a company perspective, and let's say you have your LinkedIn profile and you want, like, how do you empower your employees to connect the right way to the post you're making and the posts they're making so that everything's on brand and everything's kind of growing? Because it's not an easy thing to do, because let's say you have 100 people working for you. Can you balance where all those people are posting, and are you okay with everything they're posting and how they're connected to you?
Yeah. Oh, and employees get scared, right? I mean, when you're working for someone, you don't want to just get on LinkedIn and start, posting, because maybe HR is going to think that you're leaving or oh no, I've just made I mistakenly posted something that I should. Like, there's so many fears there. But with that said, it is important. You need to own your brand, but if you can weave it with the company brand, most companies would love for you to be posting, would love for you to be showcasing how much you love the culture and love the workplace and how you support the clients and how it all feeds together. They would love that. We have to remember that LinkedIn really isn't just a job search platform. We've almost been conditioned to believe, you get on LinkedIn when you're looking, but that's not true. It's not true. And so, it's really letting the employees know that we're okay with this. We're open to this. We would love for you to post in a manner that's, showcases you and your brand and how, how it almost become a brand advocate or a brand ambassador, for the company, right? And so I would say the best way to do that is, there's two things. One, the executive team needs to be doing it. Because if they're doing it, that makes it okay. If they're doing it, we can do it, right? So you have to lead by example. But then on the flip side, internally, there needs to be that, we would love for you to do it. And if they do it, jump in and congratulate them and, show that you're loving what they're posting. But also, really say, hey, the company page is posting, and maybe not every day, not all the time, but maybe there are some certain posts that are really, really important. Send it out. Say, hey guys, this is something we'd love for you to share.
I like that. I like leading by example, because a lot of times you only see the CEO or one or two executives who will post things because the marketing person is posting for them. And there's really no connection point. It's almost like you need to find that balance of, obviously there's somebody helping them write the post sometimes because, everybody's busy and everybody knows how to post things. But you need to find that balance of making sure that there's clear guidelines, but then also people are actually doing it, because that's the hard part too.
Yeah. And I think it's also mixing because there is we know they're going to get help. We know that.
Yes, of course.
We know that. And of course they should be getting help because their plates are full. But at the same time, there should be an authenticity to it. If it's all we, and, the big company message and nothing more, then it's really clear that they're not doing it. So it
feels very stale when you get to that point.
And cold, right? But I think if you can interject and intermingle those messages. So there are some, marketing ones. There's some that are clearly written by someone in marketing. But every now and then there's something that's really authentic. It's very real. It's clearly from that executive's point of view. That's gold.
Yeah. And I think LinkedIn seems like the best place to kind of brand yourself as like, hey, I'm an expert in the industry. I'm an expert on XYZ subject. Like for finance, like, hey, I'm an FP&A person. This is what I like to post about. Here's all the things I'm posting about. It's the perfect platform to say, here's what I like to talk about and what I want to converse about and make comments about.
Yeah. And also, and here's my team and here's what I'm proud of. And these are the things that we're doing. And this is how it's fulfilling. And this is why we love it. It doesn't always have to be strictly, here's my topic. And here's like an endless array of links to different articles.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can, take some pictures and you can talk about the books that you're reading. And there's a lot that can be stated.
It seems lately when I'm scrolling through LinkedIn, it's a lot of, hey, this is my latest product that I have, or this is the latest thing that I have. And it seems to be flooded with those things. You don't see enough of, hey, our team had a great experience and here's a cool photo. And you may know one of the people in the picture, but it's a connection point with that group saying, hey, that's really cool they're doing that, or that's a great idea. I want to try that. How do you find that balance? Because a lot of, like I said, when you're scrolling, a lot of times that's all you're seeing is people promoting things.
Yeah. Well, it really depends upon your network too.
That's true.
And it depends on how you've trained your feed. Right.
Okay.
And so if you engage in those types of salesy posts, you're going to keep seeing more and more salesy posts. So what you have to do is, in a way, you almost have to train that algorithm and say, hey, these are the people, visit the profiles of the people that you enjoy and you want to hear more from. Make sure you ring the bell on their profile, so it always notifies you. But the more, when you see something that you don't like, just do not dwell on it. Do not like it. Just scroll past it quickly. And make sure that when you do see stuff that's good, that's what you engage with. That's what you like. And that's what you comment. And that's what you repost. So that helps train it. But finding that balance, it's just one of those things where, having a content calendar, really being thoughtful and almost training yourself, to say, wait, I live in the real world, but I also am here in this cyber world, and let's think, what happened last week? What happened this week? What's going to happen? And how can maybe I, take that photo or create something that would be engaging and interesting to put on LinkedIn?
Yeah. It's almost like you need to find a balance between personal insights, maintain that professional image and kind of the personability, but also thought leader. It's like you got to balance all of those things and say, okay, here I'm going to post it out. Like you said, mentioning a calendar. And also we have to remember too, that this feed that we're seeing is AI generated. There's algorithms in the background saying, oh, they stopped on here. Let me put this out there. Oh, they spent 25 minutes staring at this, or they may have just put their phone down, but the thing thinks you're staring at it, and you left this scope open. So, how do you what are some steps we can take to try to train that algorithm and find that balance?
Yeah, and really it comes down to, making sure that you're creating that time.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like you're just doing it once every 2 weeks. Once every 2 weeks, I'm cool with you posting once every 2 weeks. Right. I'm good with that.
Okay. All right.
I'd like it to be more, but I will take once every 2 weeks for a really fun, interesting post to go out. That's great. But, to scroll, I would suggest scrolling more than once every 2 weeks. And so, you get onto the LinkedIn feed. Maybe it's on your phone and it doesn't have to be on your desktop. I mean, you can do it when you're drinking your coffee. It doesn't have to be like you're sitting down to work and now you're scrolling. It could be done, and other times. But as you scroll, keep an eye out. Who do you know? Do you really, maybe you know this person and they're posting. Don't just scroll past it. Give them some props. Comment, share, do something. Don't just scroll without any follow-up. And that does help, because when you start to see people and you start to engage with people, then you're going to start to see their posts and you're going to start to create that tribe.
I like that. Creating your own tribe, the connection points. Because I feel like LinkedIn can become like any other social media platform where you're just scrolling endlessly, not really reading anything, just kind of glancing through things. And if I'm hearing you correctly, you're saying be intentional. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah. And have fun with it and be personable. Do it because recognize that thumb or that index finger plays a role in the other person's success, right? Because with LinkedIn, the posts that do well typically are the posts that, not even just typically, are the posts that cause engagement. They cause activity on the other side, right? So by you hitting like, that means that more people will see it, and you're helping them. You're helping them gain more eyeballs, right? And it's a good thing to do.
That is a good thing to do, because if you click like, then people in your network will see that you liked it, and then they may connect with that person, and the more that you engage, when you do your post, people will engage with you as well. So it's kind of a give and take.
Adam, you got it.
All right.
You got it. There you have it.
I like that. So before we end the conversation, this has been really great. Let's look to the future. What changes are coming, or what do you see happening as we go on to, 2024 and beyond? And especially with LinkedIn, like how can we adapt and prepare for what's coming?
What's coming down the LinkedIn path? I've been on LinkedIn since 2005. It's been a long time. And, looking forward, I do believe that there's still so much runway for LinkedIn. And really, they have differentiated themselves because it's career oriented. It's professional. And you can't say that about any of the other platforms. They know their audience. They know what they're doing. And I think what we're going to see is, I do think we're going to see more people posting, more people commenting. I think we're going to start to see the end of that lurking, that voyeur who's just like, but I do think we're going to see more and more people really embracing it because, you're not at one job for 30 years. It just doesn't happen. You're constantly moving and shifting. A typical tenure, it could be 3 to 5 years. So people are going to recognize that. It's the personal brand. That's what's going to differentiate them. That's what's going to create trust. It's what's going to have people remember them.
Yeah.
And it's going to become even more and more important, especially, and you talked about it earlier, with this infusion of AI, there's going to be a lot of content, a lot of dull content, a lot of content so if you can actually get in there and open up and be real and be human and care and show some liveliness and show that enthusiasm and show your smiling face, it's going to become really easy to differentiate yourself because there's going to be a lot of people that are using AI to prop themselves up.
I like that. And I'm sure eventually, since LinkedIn is owned by Microsoft, they'll incorporate Copilot in there and say, write me a post, and it'll write a post out there. But like you said, be human, be intentional, because that's what differentiates. I really like that because it's important.
Yeah. I mean, if we keep going down this path where it's all AI, we're going to have AI reading the feed and commenting and human beings are going to be somewhere else. We don't want that.
No.
We don't want that.
We don't want WALL-E, where robots are doing everything. We're sitting in big old ships, traveling through the world, just getting fatter and fatter, watching our screens. We want to have connections still.
Yeah. And so it is important. I think you want to definitely use it. I'm not in it. I'm very pro AI. I think it's great, but we have to do it in a manner that, it keeps our humanity. It's still authentic and we are connecting with real people.
I really like that. Well, Donna, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It's really been great chatting with you about LinkedIn.
Thank you so much for having me.
This has been Count Me In, IMA's podcast, providing you with the latest perspectives of thought leaders from the accounting and finance profession. If you like what you heard and you'd like to be counted in for more relevant accounting and finance education, visit IMA's website at www.imanet.org.